Are you ashamed of Christ? You should test yourself and see if you are. Can you talk about Christ in public to strangers? This is a test that you should see if you can do it. Do you know how to carry a conversation about Christ with people? With strangers in public? If you have had the experience of meeting God, you will be a new zealous person. You will have His Spirit in you, and His Spirit is striving with mankind to bring them to repentance and reconcile them to the Father by putting faith and obedience into Christ. And you will have that desire too. If you deny Christ by being ashamed of Him and not testifying and witnessing for Him, then He will deny you before the angels, before the Father. That means you're not getting into His kingdom. That means you don't have the Spirit of Christ in you, because the Spirit of Christ will drive you to some type of ministry. And they say that some people are evangelists, some people are teachers. Well, everybody who's a Christian has some type of ministry with their mouth. So stir up the gift of God within you, be zealous, and go out there and plant some seeds, because you're a spiritual farmer. And when you speak of Christ, even if you don't know too much to say, just tell your testimony. Ask people. You can ask someone, walk up to a stranger and say, "Hey, do you believe Christ rose from the dead?" You can. There's many things you can do. And I just pray that you will be with God, because God is doing that, and you got to be doing that. So you got to be with God to do that. To be with God, you got to be doing stuff like that. You got to be a part of the harvest, reaping the harvest for Christ. All right. But you have to be living a righteous lifestyle. You have to be holy. You have to be pure. Have a good reputation. Otherwise, you're going to misrepresent Christ, and it's better not to do ministry. Sometimes I have been in my walk with God, I've had it where I felt like I didn't have a good reputation. I didn't have the victory. And during that season of my life, I didn't talk to people individually. I would make tracts with my printer, like kind of like just a piece of paper. You type out a document and just a small little explanation explaining to people that Christ wants to live in them, give them His divine nature. They need to turn to Him and pledge their allegiance to Him, and that they can meet God and have a supernatural relationship with Him, stuff like that. And I would hand those tracts out onto the card, so I wouldn't have to talk to people until I was ready to actually start talking to people. And that's all I have to say about that. Okay? So yeah, take this seriously and test yourself. Do you have the boldness? It says in Daniel that those who know their God will do bold exploits. Proverbs says the righteous are bold as a lion. And you're not righteous unless you know Christ. So those who know Christ are bold as a lion. So if the spirit of fear is dominating you, you gotta chase after Jesus. Alright.